watching news at Prime. We continue with our coverage on child abuse and neglect cases in the country. Joining us now is the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Sindisiwe Chikunga is my guest tonight. Minister, good to have you in studio. It's a difficult conversation, but one that needs to be had. What would you say government is doing when it comes to protecting children? Because these are the most vulnerable of our society.
Government start from the time the child, in fact, even before the child is conceived, to take care of the child. You will know that government provide family planning to women for free for that matter. At the time when a woman wants to conceive a child, the government will be there to provide antenatal care so that a woman can give birth to a child that is not only alive but healthy. And of course, the government will be there when the child is born. The doctor will decide on whether the child should be delivered at the hospital or clinic. And that is not done just for the sake of doing it, but to ensure that the child that is being born is healthy and is able to meet the demands of the world after birth. It is the doctor, it is the government that will provide immunization to the child for free and take care of the mother as well. Up until the child is 5 years old, still belongs to the doctor, to the midwife at the hospital. And of course, you will know that the government will also give grant to the child in an event the parents are not able to provide for the child. Yeah. So there's a lot that government is actually doing until the child goes to school, etc., etc. And of course, the legislations that have been put are to actually say if any abuse is happening to a child, anyone who sees it must report it, even on suspicion. Yeah. If that suspicion is in good faith, no one can therefore probably litigate against you on the grounds that you actually suspected. If it is proven not to be correct, of course, then of course you will not be litigated against by whoever. And therefore the issue of child care is not only for government or even parents for that matter, but it's for everybody in the country to say, if you see it, report it immediately. Yeah. If you suspect it's happening, report it immediately.
I'd like for us to make a clear distinction here, and I actually wasn't aware of this until you brought it up just before we went on air, that your department, the reason it's defined as a department for women, youth and persons with disabilities is that when it comes to young people, the age group that your department is responsible for is 15 and above.
Yes.
Whereas the Minister of Social Development, it's for infants all the way up to, I guess, up until the age of 15. Yes. Yes. So that's a differentiator.
Yes.
But I'm glad you're here nonetheless, because mothers give birth, or let's say women get pregnant. Sometimes it's planned and sometimes it's unplanned. What do you make of this scourge, if you want to call it a scourge? Perhaps you see it as a new trend where mothers are allegedly, let me put it that way, allegedly involved in their own children's abuse. And there is a case now that we can refer to. I may not be aware, I may not remember previous ones, but there's one that South Africans remember so clearly, and that is that of Kelly Smith. She's been sentenced. She's serving jail time for, among other things, trafficking her own child. What do you think the problem is with the context that you've just painted a little earlier?
First of all, any abuse is crime. Whether it's committed by a mother or anybody, it is crime. And the mother must face the full might, or whoever is committing that must face the full might of the law. It is unthinkable that a mother will sell a child for whatever reason. Doesn't matter whether the mother is poor or anything. But what we are actually seeing is that many of the women, allegedly, they are actually abusing drugs. And because of that, they will do anything in order for them to satisfy their need for drugs. Many of the women will sell their souls for their partners because they want to be loved by the partner, and therefore they can actually do whatever to the child who at the time they see as a disturbance. And soon after that, the very partner will leave this woman because he now knows that he's capable of killing or of abusing her own blood, and he will leave the woman. But we're seeing these things, and they are quite worrying because it can never be thinkable that a woman falls pregnant, give birth to a child, and the same woman, after those pains and contractions, after the birth that happens during pregnancy, that woman will be able to even consider to harm the child. I'm a grandmother to my own children. I can't think, sometimes you want to, and your hand will just come up like this, and you can't spank the child. So it's a trend that is extremely worrying. It's a trend that is difficult to prevent because it happens in the closed rooms and no one sees it unless somebody is very observant. But what we say to everyone, you might be observing that this child is hungry, it doesn't get food from home. Sometimes there are scars that cannot be explained. Just on suspicion, report it.
Minister, yes, most of the time it would seem that this kind of abuse visited on children is away from the glare of the public. But there are some worrying cases where government is found wanting. And I'm talking about a case in the Eastern Cape where a mother poisoned her own children. And the story was that she couldn't feed her children. So hunger was the problem. You spoke earlier about government needing to step in, or you see a child being abused, or there is perhaps a question of hunger. Report it so that someone out there is able to get the necessary help. In that same year that that woman did that, the Social Development Department returned monies to Treasury that could not be spent. That's egregious, is it not, Minister, where you have hunger in a country where we're told there's plenty of food. What's the problem?
It definitely will be a problem when money is not spent for what it is supposed to be spent for, including providing for poor people, such as the case that you're actually relating to me. I imagine that such children would have attended a clinic, I'm just making an example, where they are weighed, and on the basis of weight, the nurse can therefore be able to identify and detect that this child is not being fed properly, and the intervention has to happen. Because children don't go to clinic for immunization for just getting an injection, but they're also weighed so that you can actually plot on the road to health whether the child is gaining weight. If the child is not gaining weight, then the nurse must intervene. Let me say, for instance, those children did not attend the clinic. Let me take it that way. Probably somebody may have not known, but maybe somebody in the community, including the councillor, including whoever, a member of parliament like Chikunga, I'm making an example, including an induna in the community, including a teacher at school, should have reported to social workers. And social workers should have intervened to say, for these children, let's check whether they are getting the grant. That's the first thing. But also, whilst they are waiting for that, they can actually give food. So yes, indeed, it will be some omissions somewhere. However, even in that situation, I can't therefore say it was right for the mother to poison children. I can't say that. I've seen poverty. I've actually seen poverty. I've seen a household in Carolina where you get into the house, you don't know they're in the house. Even when you get into the house and you take photos, they can't say no because they're so vulnerable and so poor. They have nothing in the house because it's Saturday, it's midday, there's nothing in the house. But the mother will not think of poisoning children. And out of nowhere, I go into that house, actually campaigning for elections. There was a by-election. I get into the house, and I had some blankets in my car, and I thought I was going to give them the blanket. But when I got into the house, I realized that not even the blanket can help in this situation. We build a house for that woman. So the point I'm making is that there can never be anything that would make one to say, then you can poison your children. Yeah. Rather, let's say the children died of malnutrition, not because the mother poisoned the children.
Difficult conversations, Minister, and we talk ahead of the August month.
Yeah.
The August month is observed in this country as the month that is focused on women, celebrating women, women's achievements and struggles. This month, what can we look forward to in the upliftment of women in our society?
You know, we stand on the shoulders of powerful women, heroes, who, despite the difficulties, if you go back to 1956 as to what was happening, National Party had just won elections in 1948, and that put legislations that were actually saying you are not only a stranger in your country, but now you must actually have something called dompas wherever you go. And women said, not us women, and they marched. And we speak about this heroic march as if it's something, if you look at what was happening at the time politically, it took very strong women. It took very encourageous women who were determined to say empowerment of women will happen in our lifetime. So yes, indeed, this time around we have said the theme for this month is a resilient economy, building a resilient economy for all. Yeah. That is our theme for this month. And we will be launching it on the 1st in Sandton. It will be a trade fair. We are going to have women from all walks of life, from every part of South Africa, from farm areas, from semi-rural areas, from rural part of South Africa, from urban, from townships. They will be there selling their stuff. We're inviting you as well. We're invited funders to come. We've invited people to come with money. It will be after a month end, and therefore people will be having money to buy from these women. We would want to see them networking, because many of women have stuff to sell, but they don't have market. We've trained them. We have funded them. They are producing things, but they don't have the market. And we are therefore also inviting the very people that can buy from them. Yeah. And we're looking forward to that. But of course, on the 9th, the president will be in Polokwane and Nkowankowa Stadium in Zanini, and he will be addressing South Africa on issues and progress that we have made, the gaps that are there, the pitfalls where we have not done well from August last year up until today. And we're inviting everybody to join us again in Zanini to celebrate women in South Africa. But of course, this is happening during the year where we are saying we are 30 years from the 1995 Beijing conference, and we have women who actually formed the delegation that went to Beijing. And at the end of that important conference, they signed a declaration and a platform for action, which has 12 matters to be implemented for women empowerment.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be lots of conversations to be had about the struggles of women, but also importantly, the achievements that we have seen in the years gone by. Thank you very much for your time, Minister. The Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Sindisiwe Chikunga. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio tonight. Thank you, Minister.